Hi there. The tools that we will use to do the energy analysis and to do the optimization process in this course are Ladybug and Honeybee. And these two are plugins to Grasshopper. But Grasshopper, as we know, is itself a plugin to Rhino. This is why the software that holds all of our work and all of our application and these tools will be Rhino. So now we will start with the basics of Rhino. If you know how to use Rhino and you are past the basics in this software, then you can skip this part. But if you are a beginner with Rhino, this will be very helpful to get you started with this program, with this amazing tool, and how to proceed with this 3D modeling software. Let's start with it. So first of all, what is this program? How does it work? It is basically one of the must-used 3D modeling program and CAD software. So what I mean by CAD is computer-aided drawings, and it is somehow similar to AutoCAD. If you're familiar with AutoCAD, then you will get used to Rhino very quickly. So I will start with the parts that how is this program similar to AutoCAD. First of all, it has the coordinates system. So as we can see here, in our main interface, we have these viewports, 4 viewports. For now, I'm going to be navigating in the perspective one. And I can maybe just to show you how coordinates work. When I go into one of the commands here, which is align, I can place a point at a very specific coordinates. So if I can say, for example, 0, 0, 10, then my first point have been created in the 0, 0 location, but with the height of 10. And if I want to create the other point as, for example, 10, 10, 10, then it created me the other point. So it's basically at the same z value, which is the same height, but with different x and y. And this is why architects and designers prefer this software, because of its accuracy and the ability to create a very precise and accurate lines in their work. This was number one. The second feature that is similar to AutoCAD is this command panel. So the panel or the command line that you communicate with this program using. So for example, if you create a box, you just write a box and it gets you inside that command and you can create your box. So this is a very handy and very useful tool when you get used to the commands. You just write the name of the command and or maybe like the first letters, and you get directly to the command that you will work with. The third feature that I like in Rhino and is also similar to AutoCAD is the sub commands. So for example, again, I'm going to create a box and say OK. And now, as we can see in this command panel, it gives me many options. So I can create a box using 3 points, or using the center of the box, or a diagonal when I can create a box with the 2 corners of the box. So this is a very useful way that helps you a lot with your work. So you can use all of these commands with different attributes to each one of them. So for example, I want use the center, and I can choose this as my center. Then now, so I know that it created the box using the center of the base of this box. I believe that the interface of my program is different from, like the colors are different from the one that you're using, but it's just because I played with the display options and changed the view colors, but that's not very important for now. We're gonna proceed with like what are the elements that I'm seeing in this user interface. What are like this panel on the left, this panel on the right, and the other commands that I'm seeing down and up there. I'm gonna start with this sidebar. So this is the easiest way to find the commands that you want to use. For example, as we can see, the first few ones are used to create 2D objects. Like, for example, I have lines using 3 or 4 points. How can I create a curved line, and etc. So, for example, the first one, like how to create like different ways to create lines. I can, if I choose it now, so it's just creating a polyline. And the next one is how to create a curved line using also points. Then we have the 2D shapes, the circle, the ellipse, and other geometric shapes that you can use to create directly from this panel. So all of these, like the first ones, are the 2D object creating tools. The group after, which are these, are specialized in creating solid surfaces. So the first one is different ways also to create surfaces and to deal with surfaces from, for example, from points or from lines. We will see that later in the example now. And other commands that help to create a fast 3D geometrical shape, as we saw earlier, how we created a box. So this box actually is a solid object, but because all of my views now are set to be a wireframe view, so now I'm seeing them as only like lines. But if we go to rendered, we can see that the boxes that I created are solid objects. What else do we have here? We have different commands that we use to deal with these surfaces and or these objects that we created. For example, explode, join, then we have the split, the trim, other like grouping commands, and so. The commands after that, or the group after that, is a bit like advanced commands that are used in the 3D modeling process. And we have some object modifier tools. For example, if you want to twist an object, if you want to bend or to change the shape or the form of the object, these are like very helpful tools. So this is the sidebar on the left. What we have on the right side is the property view panel, so, or the property panel. Some of you maybe does not have this. If you are missing this panel, then you just click in F3 and you will see it. It will appear again. And I like to use it on the right side. So what we have here is different tabs also that enable us to control many properties of any object that we are using. So for example, when now I am in the property tab, properties tab, and now I didn't choose, like I don't have any object selected, so it just gives me information about the viewport, like how, like each of these viewport, what am I looking at, like the camera setting, how I'm looking to this viewport, and so. But if I select an object, it will give me the information of this object. For example, it's saying that the type is closed extrusion because it's a closed form, and it gives me information about its layer, its color, the width of if I want to print it. And if I want to see much more details, like the, for example, coordinates, or like the volume of area of surfaces and everything I need to know about this shape, then using these details, it shows me some details about it. So this was the properties tab up there. The second one, the next one, is a very handy, very useful thing that we use in, as you know, in AutoCAD or in Rhino or similar programs, which is the layers. So in what layer do you create your objects? So this is a very helpful panel to organize your work, to to put like different objects in different layers. So if you're planning a 2D plan, you put the doors in a door layer, you put the windows in a window layer, and like the walls, and so this way you can organize your work, and with these properties of the layers you can like turn on or off your layers and like focus on what kind of objects that you're working with. So for example, I want to take this object and take it, if I say change object layer, so now this object now is located under this layer. So for example, as I said, if I want to turn it off and focus on the other object, then I can do that, or turn it on again and maybe do some changes with the colors, and this way I can organize my work very easily and quickly. In the example that we will work with, I will use a lot of layers, because we're working with a different element of the building. So each element, like the wall, the doors, as we said, like the windows, anything would have its own layer. The other tabs are like enables you to give materials or like to do rendering settings, but for now we will not work with them very much. The other toolbar that we can see down here is also a very important one, and it's similar to AutoCAD's Object Snap bar. So if, for example, as I said, because this program works with coordinates, if I want to create an object and for example I want to create it on this point, how much I try to get accurate and to place my point on this point, on this intersection, I will never be able to do that, because the Rhino works with very small coordinates, and you will never be able to capture the 0 point, for example, or the coordinates, the exact coordinates that you want to place your point on. That's why, as we can see, I was like very far off, like how much I can make it nearer or more accurate. I cannot do that. It will still have some like very small amount of inaccuracy. That's why these elements here are very, very important, which are, for example, if I want the grid snap as I wanted to create here earlier, I can turn on this option here, grid snap, and I can see that it snaps my creation to only the corner points of these grid points. So this is why, if you want to create something like very accurate and it has defined lengths, you might need to use this option. And I turned it off now. And the other ones, like the ones I'm seeing on top here, are the object snap properties. So when I turned off this grid snap and I want to draw something, for example, from the middle of this point, if I have this turned on, then I can choose to create or to start my lines from the middles of these lines. So now I created 2 points. I just click enter, and now it creates me this line that is starts and ends exactly at the midpoints. And if I want to create also another one with the endpoints, so now because I have this intersection point, which is the endpoints, I have it turned on, then now I can see how it works. I prefer not choosing the near point, which is like if you want to create some points on the line itself, but because sometimes you don't like it affects your accuracy if you want to choose like one point in the middle. If you have the near option turned on, then it might get a bit inaccurate and create a near point that is different from the one that you want to choose. But it's your choice. After like using and having some experience with these, you can choose the best for your work. What else we have? We have other options here, which is, for example, the ortho working mode. The ortho mode is also like similar to AutoCAD, which is when it is on, then I can create lines only on the horizontal and vertical directions. I can't go with inaccurate angles. But if I, like for example, if I turn it off using F8, then I can go to normal again. So F8 ortho mode, F8 ortho mode off. I also have the gumball option, which is if I choose one object, I can see here that my object, I can use it or I can do changes on this object, like moving or rotating or scaling using this gumball option. I think in default this gumball option is not on, but if it's off, it is very difficult to deal with objects, and you can, I don't know, change them or like move them very like inaccurately. But when the gumball option on, you can, for example, click only one click on one axis and, for example, move by 15, then it moves as the number that you create. For example, -10, and now it's moved like this. So this gumball option is the one to choose. I also have the filter. So the filters are, I place them up here on the right. If you can turn them on or off from this here. And this filter just enables you to use or to work with objects of your selection. So for example, if I turn off this surface, I think this one is a poly surface. So if I turn off this poly surface, I will not be able to choose these objects. And as I can see, it like blinks up there that it's showing me that you can't work with these objects because of this filter. But I can, of course, work with other objects like these curves, which is chosen here. So if I have curves, I can work with them. Surfaces now turned off, I can't work with them. I will turn these on again. And this toolbar here again, it has like all the selection, all the commands that are in Rhino. It has very advanced tools that you can use during work. And the last thing I want to mention in this video is these viewports. So we have four, as we can see, 4 viewports, which are the default setting of this program. So each one's view is different. So now we can see like this is from perspective, from the top view if you want like to look at it as a plan, and from side views from like front and right. And you can of course change the view that you want. For example, I want from back, so it just looks from the other side. And we can view these ports from with different styles. For example, now we have the wireframe. So that's why we are seeing only the exterior frames or the exterior lines of these objects. But when we change to shaded or rendered, we can see them with different styles. So for example here, basically this architect one to show only like basic or like a 3D forms like this. X-ray to show like with a little bit of transparency, and the technical to show the hidden lines as dotted lines, as we can see here, and other options. So you can explore these, choose the view, kind of view that you want to work with. And of course, if you want to work with only one view instead of 4, so that's basically if you double click on the name of this view, so it will become one view, and double click again to come to the other views. A lot of the times when we are working on the plan, so we can come to this view, finish our work, go back, work with the other views, and so this is helpful tool, of course. And this here you can also change the size and places of your views as you want. So this is according to like which view are you like focusing on and you working mostly. So most of the time the perspective would be the dominant one. This is what I wanted to show in this video. In the next video we will start using these commands to create basic objects.